Bachelors from the Frat House, working at a very weird camera angle because the glare from the back window off my glasses was so bad.
No.
Hi, Liam's helping.
No.
I wanted to show you guys two things. First, several of you had asked when I did the video showing the LM-Hyperdex and announcing the giveaway, several people had asked if I would show you how I fill in that Hyperdex. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So basically it'll be how I set up my page, because there's a column that's the schedule. I talked about that in the last video, and I kind of refer to that at the end of the day when I fill in the Hyperdex. And then secondly, I have the giveaway winners for you. So if Mr. Squirmy Man here will be agreeable and not drop his blocks too hard on the table and make a ton of noise, we will go over the Hyperdex. I'll show you how I fill it in. There are several different ways you can use it. Obviously, you can adapt it to use it however works for you, but I'll just show you how I'm using it so you have an idea of one way to use it. And then I will announce the giveaway winners as well. Okay? Say hi. Thank you so much, guys. We are going to, oh my goodness, flip the camera around and hopefully show you this. You guys take it easy. Have a great afternoon. Okay, bye-bye. So I pulled out my February inserts and I found a blank one. A lot of times on Sundays, especially if it's a super busy weekend, if I'm running around doing family stuff and kid stuff and whatnot, I end up not using Sunday really in my planner. Depends on, you know, what's going on. So I'm going to use this one to show you what a normal weekday would look like and how I would fill this in at the end of the day. Now, because this was a Sunday, it was the day after we had gone to WizardCon in Madison, so we were all still pretty beat. We kind of had I asked the kids the next day if we had like the, you know, the post WizardCon hangover, because that was the day before. As you can see, there's nothing on this page. I just kind of cleaned and hung out with the kids and, you know, played with Liam, and that was pretty much it. And this was the day that Liam started getting sick too, so, or the day before was, so I'm going to show you what a normal weekday would look like. Now, on a weekday, I have this column over here filled in with what the schedule is supposed to be. Okay, so that is where I put, here's what the schedule is for the day. I'm trying to find my zoom out button, you guys, so you can see. There we go. So this column on the left I use to fill in what the given schedule is supposed to be. Okay, and let me go back to my blank page. So if this were a regular day, I just wanted to find a blank one to use. This column on the left would be filled in, like I said, with what the schedule is supposed to be. This I use to look at what actually occurred. Okay, does that make any sense? And during the week, during the school year especially, this looks, a lot of this is the same every day because obviously the kids are on a set schedule for school. So these are, colored pencils. Now, don't freak out. I don't use all of these to fill in the Hyperdex. I use them for, you know, color coding projects. I use them for all kinds of stuff, but I use colored pencils in my Hyperdex just because I like having the variety of colors. So I'm going to try not to make too much racket setting those down and fill this in. So at the end of the day, sometime, you know, 7, 8 o'clock at night, sometimes it's 11 or 12 o'clock at night, it depends. I'll sit down for, it's like less than 5 minutes really. Gonna take me longer on camera because I'm reaching around the tripod and explaining what I'm doing. But when I sit down and do it just myself real quick, it's like 5 minutes tops. I will sit down and fill this in real quick if I haven't done it in bits and pieces throughout the day. So the first thing that happens usually on a school morning is I will get up, hopefully before everybody else, make coffee and check emails, and if I have time before I have to start getting kids up for school, you know, like shower, get all ready, all that good stuff, and then I will start like answering emails, taking a real quick look at any social media, like anybody that asked me a question, and see how many of them I can get answered. Anything that's going to take a lot of thought or that, you know, isn't a real quick answer, I leave for later on because I want to, you know, give those questions the attention that they deserve. But real quick, checking in, checking email. I take a quick look at my planner to see what's up for the day, if there's anything out of the ordinary. So if that's going to happen, that usually happens between 6 and 7 in the morning. Now this runs from 12 all the way around to 12 again. That's a 24-hour clock, okay? And I had a hard time with that. I kept wanting to treat this as 6 because as a clock, that's 6. So I would cover up half of the Post-it. I showed you guys that in my other video. I'd cover up half of this with a Post-it note so that I would remember this is not 6 o'clock in the evening or in the morning. This is noon, so this is my AM side, and that is my PM side. And then once I got used to that, I could get rid of the Post-it note. So the outer section, the outer 2 rings, or the outer large 1 ring, is where I put all my stuff. The middle one is where I put the boys' stuff, and the inside one, I guess, the smallest one, those 2 is where I put Mike's stuff. Okay, so say from 6 to 7, I answered emails and did social media stuff. So here's 6 a.m., here's 7 a.m. So I just draw a line kind of pointing somewhat toward the center of the circle. And social media and whatnot, and my color coding for me is black. And this is going to be very sloppily colored in because I have T-Rex arms and I'm reaching. So that's what I did, say from 6 to 7. Now, right now, Jack has patrol in the morning before school, so generally I leave to drop him off at 7:30, but because he has patrol, he has to be there earlier. So I am going to mark him in. Jack's color is purple, because that's his favorite color. So we usually leave around 7:30, but now we're leaving at like 7:05, 7:10, because for a couple of weeks he's got patrol. So in the boys' circle, I just make a little purple mark that's a little bit earlier than usual so that I remember, oh yeah, those are the weeks Jack has patrol. Or had patrol, I should say. And then everybody else gets out the door roughly around, oops, no, I didn't mark it in. So that's Jack's. Okay, anything that I did for the boys, I mark in dark blue in my circle. So driving him to school, dark blue, there we go. Now from 8 until 2, all of the kids are in school, obviously, except for Liam. So I mark in the boys' circle, just in blue, because it's all the boys from 8 until 2. The kids are in school. And again, this is going to be sloppy. First of all, I need to sharpen my colored pencil really badly. I should have done that before we started, huh? I love this camera. I do not love working around the tripod. So in general, that's the boys' school day, 8 to 2. Okay, now before I fill in what I did in between there while all the kids were in school, since I've got the blue crayon in my hand, or the blue colored pencil in my hand, I leave here around, oh, we start getting ready to go at like 1:30, you know, kind of picking up toys and bundling up. Because bundling up a toddler takes more than 2 minutes. Liam's pretty good about it. But so about 1:45 or so, I leave and I pick up Dakota and Jack, because Dakota is done at 2 and Jack is done at 2:15. So from 1:45 till about 2:30, I'm driving for the boys. So that goes in blue. They're out at 2. Now, 2 of the boys are in school later than that. Dakota's a senior. This is his last semester, so he doesn't have a full schedule. He already has all his credits, but he just has, you know, those requirements like government and, you know, 4 years of English class and all that to cover. So he's a TA in a class, and then when he's done with that, he comes home. So Clayton is still in school until he gets off the bus at like 4:15-ish. So let's say on this day he's, let's see. Let's say today is a Key Club day for Clayton. So Clayton is at school until just before 5 because he has Key Club on certain days. So this little one part, you see how that center circle is broken in half there? I fill that in yellow. Yellow is Clayton's favorite color, so that shows me, oh, that's right, he was at school till roughly 5 that day. Hunter rides the bus home if I don't go pick him up. Sometimes he rides the bus, sometimes I pick him up, and he's home around 4. So I'm going to mark him in the boys' circle as being back at 4. Okay, now if I had gone to pick Hunter up from school that day, I'd have another little section up in here in blue, just like this one, showing that I had gone to pick him up. Okay, now let's say from there I had to go pick up Clayton from school, and his time, it's usually 4:45, but sometimes they do run late. So let's say while I was there, I worked on finding the links for a video, let's say, to put in the description box. So let's say I got there, oh, I need to sharpen these. See, he's done about 4:45, but they do generally run late, but I know the one time I don't get over there by 4:45 will be the time they're out at 4:35 and he'll be standing around waiting for me. So I usually leave here around 4:30 to get him. So I'll mark it there, and let's say we're back a little after 5. So in my circle, just like I did before, I mark in blue that I had to do something for one of the boys, which I can see because Clayton was gone till 5. It was driving to pick him up. But I leave the bottom part of that because let's say while I was waiting for him, remember this is all in retrospect, looking back going, oh yeah, I worked on finding the links for that video while I was waiting for him. So the second half of this outer circle is mine. I mark in pink because that's stuff for blog and, you know, the website and YouTube channel and whatnot. So I can see that while I was waiting for Clayton, I got some stuff done. If I specifically need to see what stuff I got done, I can look in my video, you know, project planning. Sometimes I'll make the notes right here, generally not for videos, because this is just kind of for describing maybe if something up here happened out of the ordinary. I use that as kind of a note space. So, and usually if I did it while I was waiting for him, I may have had it written down in my tasks. So any tasks that I have written down for the day that I can get done while I'm sitting and waiting in the van, just because I don't know if I'm going to have that time to work or not, I mark those off down there, and then I color in the box next to it with the particular color. So this would have been, say it said find links for such and such video. I would have had this box colored in pink, and when I saw this up here that there was pink, I could see that that's what I had done. Does that make sense? All right, so let's say we got home from there, and let's say that Dakota had to work that night. So Dakota will soon have his own car, so this will be this will be changing pretty darn soon here. But let's say he had to work from 6 to 9. So I get back from taking Clayton or picking Clayton up from Key Club. Dakota's color is this ocean blue color. So in the center here, from 6 until 9, in the boys' section of the circle, I mark that Dakota has work. I know that that chunk of time, if it's from 6 to 9, is work for him. If it's from 6 to 8 and it's on a Monday or a Wednesday, it's the gym. So that's how I keep those straight. So because he doesn't have his car yet, I have to run him to work. So from, say, the time we got back from here until a little after 6, because I generally drop him off early, so we're sure he's punched in on time, and mark that in that I dropped Clayton off, grabbed Dakota, went and dropped him off at work. And then let's say I'm doing this after I got back from picking him up. So about 8:30, 8:45, I take off, go pick him up. Let's say I didn't have to wait at all, so I don't have anything to mark in that second portion of the circle like I did here because I didn't work on anything while I waited. Let's say I got there, waited 2 minutes, he was done, and we came home. Okay? Now that is pretty much the boys' stuff. Now, let's say that this is a regular practice day for Mike for hockey. Now, the reason I keep track of his stuff on here, because I don't use this for forward planning. Filling in this in advance wouldn't do me any good for me to see, okay, what days are Mike home this week that he might be able to, you know, watch Liam so I could go take care of this, or help me run so-and-so so that I can stay here and do that. I don't use it in that manner, but there are times, it's happened enough times that I started keeping track of it. He'd asked me, hey, what day was it last week that I did this instead of that? And I wouldn't be able to answer him. So it doesn't matter. His schedule on a regular day at home is pretty much the same. So let's say, and his color is red because that's one of the hockey team colors. So at 8 on a regular day, he'll take off from the house. He comes back, usually it's like 2:30, 3 o'clock, so let's say 3 o'clock. So that's all hockey practice time. And I'm going to very messily fill that in. Okay, and then let's say he was home for about an hour and then he went to the clinic. So at 4 he took off, and let's say he was at the clinic until 8. So he got home at like 8:30, let's say. Oh, very crooked. And that way, if he goes, hey, what day was it that I stayed at the clinic until 8 instead of 7 last week? I can look real quick and double check, because invariably if he's asking me, it's because of a scheduling question he has, and I want to be able to answer him accurately. So it's kind of like being each other's cerebral backup, basically. So that's pretty much all I do for Mike. If he's on a road trip and he's like gone, I fill in that entire circle all red. He's completely out of town. Okay? And then lastly, for my stuff, let's say And this is generally how I do it at the end of the day. I look at what all the boys did, any running I did pertaining to the boys, I do Mike's, and then I do mine. So let's say I got back from taking Jack to school and Liam got up. So let's say from, 7:15, 7:30 till 8, we were waking up, making the beds. And let's say until 8:30, I was giving him a bath and getting his breakfast ready and whatnot. Okay? Now let's say while he ate breakfast, I did a little bit of tech coating. So let's say I tech coated for an hour. So from 8:30 to 9:30, I would fill in with purple. I know that that would mean that, that time of day he's not asleep, so he was eating breakfast while I got that done. So while he ate breakfast, sometimes he can be a really slow eater, and then sometimes I just kind of start. He eats, I sit with him, he finishes up, I clean up, and then I go back and finish, whatever little bits I need to finish. So let's say that was until 9:30, and generally about that time, if it were nice out, we would go for a walk. It has been so bitterly cold that even taking him out in the snow has not been overly doable. He's not overly fond of it. So let's say I get him playing, and let's see, let's say for a little bit of time, let's say I cleaned, if maybe it was a grocery day the next day, or if I was planning on going later in the afternoon, if I could sneak into this bit of time here, I would. But let's say I cleaned for an hour and a half. So stuff like laundry, if Mike had any sheets for the office that absolutely had to be done this day, whatever I did, that is kind of an orangey color is what I use for running errands, like household stuff, stuff that pertains to the house. So let's say I did that until 11. And now bear in mind, all of my stuff is also, I've got Liam with me, so it's a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, let's say that before lunch, I checked in with some stuff that I was reading for a What's Your Why Not video. Okay, so let's say for half an hour here, I just did a little bit of What's Your Why Not work. This clay yellow color is what I use for What's Your Why Not. Okay. And then let's say lunchtime, I started getting lunch ready at 11:30, let's say. So start getting lunch ready at 11:30, get Liam settled in to eat, and then maybe we were all done and got it all cleaned up by 12:30. And then with his tummy full, he wouldn't quite take a nap anymore by that point. If he's going to take a nap, he generally does it in here while we're in the van picking up Dakota and Jack. But let's say he was kind of quiet and doing his own thing, so say I recorded a video in this chunk of time. Okay, and any notes on any of this, if it was something for What's Your Why Not and I wanted to make notes, I have a note in my green Narrow Gemini, or notebook I should say, insert that is all notes for What's Your Why Not. I'm taking a class called Ignite Your Everyday Creativity right now through Coursera, so there's a notebook in there for kind of class type stuff. So that's where any notes for that stuff would go. Anything else that pertained to it that I needed to really keep track of, I would put in this section here. If it was something that was a task that I had wanted to get done, like let's say I had marked down this video that I recorded as a task, it would be down here, like I said before. And I'm going to go into that. I'm going to show you guys kind of a full-on, in my head I was calling it the full Monty, like the full-on monthly setup for projects. So the setup and the breakdown of projects and how I do them every month, and I'm going to show you guys that in a separate video. So let's say I got home here, and because I knew I had to leave again to get Clayton and then come right back, get Dakota and take him to work, let's say I started supper in here. A lot of times on days like this, I will take this time down here and throw ribs in the roaster for the day, or a couple of roasts in the crock pot in the roaster, because we have to do 2 roasts when we eat, because between the meat and the vegetables it's a lot of food and I can't get it all in the roaster. So sometimes I will have done that here. Let's just say we were doing like burgers and roasted potatoes or something. So I would start here, maybe getting the potatoes cut up and ready to go, picking up after Liam. In fact, you know what? Here, let's do this. This is generally what happens. I get back from picking up Dakota and Jack, and Liam some days is asleep. So let's say he kind of half woke up, so I sat with him for a little while to make sure he fell back to sleep. And then, you know what we're gonna do? Since we're pretending, we're gonna say this day I threw roast and whatnot in here this morning while Liam and I were, you know, picking up, doing laundry, playing, whatever, that I threw supper in there, so I don't have to do it there. So in that chunk of time, let's say that I helped Jack with his homework. So we are going to take, I will throw, because purple is Jack's color, and this is just my brain, you guys, this may sound really overly complicated. In my brain, it's like that, so it makes sense to me. Purple, like a block of purple like this here, to me is projects that involve other people. So like that one was tech coding. If I separate it up like this, so blue in the outer circle, purple in the inner circle, even though purple for me is tech coding, I know that if I have it paired with blue, that has something to do with one of the boys. Purple is Jack's color. So let's say from 3 to 4, Jack and I worked on a project together. Okay, for school. So that's the difference between those, and I can see that I didn't go pick anybody up, because if I had picked somebody up here, I would have had it marked in solid blue, and it would have probably been Hunter getting out of school. Okay, so let's say after I have pencils everywhere. Now let's say I get back from taking Dakota to work. Like I said, I usually drop him off a little early, so let's say I got back from dropping him off at, say, 6:15. I have such a tickle in my throat today, you guys. I'm so sorry. And see, Mike's not home yet at that point, and let's say everybody's kind of doing their thing. So I get Liam settled and run a little more laundry. So let's mark in, say, from 6:15 until 7. I did house stuff, made sure that, you know, some of these older guys would have started to eat probably while I was running Dakota to work at that point. He would have eaten before he left. Mike's not home yet, so if those guys hadn't eaten by the time I got back from running Dakota to work, I would make sure, you know, maybe they rode with me. So I'd make sure they got settled. I would make sure that Liam started to eat, and I would eat with them. And then let's say while Liam is eating, I decide, if everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and, you know, like if they're doing homework and they don't need any help, let's say that I read for half an hour. So brown to me is all personal stuff, whether it's journaling or reading or knitting, whatever the case may be. If I really want to keep track of exactly what that personal time was, I would write it in. Like if I finished a book that was really good, I keep track of all that in Goodreads anyway. So I would just mark it as brown, and if I really desperately need to figure out what I did during that time, I can go back and look, but, or I can mark it on here. I don't know why I would, but, and then that gives me about half an hour or an hour in there before I, you know, left to get Dakota from work. So let's say Mike got home around that time, and we were all hanging out together, being nerds, goofing around. So let's say in this chunk of time I spent it with Mike and the boys, I would just mark it in as red. Okay, so then I would leave to get Dakota from work that late. Liam would stay home with Mike and whoever else stayed home. And sometimes Clayton will come with so he can drive over there to get Dakota from work, and then I drive back. So say we get back from picking Dakota up from work about, you know, 9:15, 9:30. You know, get Liam laid down. Everybody kind of starts to wind down for the day. I might, you know, I double check, make sure everybody's got their homework done, make sure clothes are laid out for the next day. Any laundry that I won't need to put in that I'm not overly worried about getting in the dryer right away, because I may not make another trip down to the laundry room at this time. So let's say for that 45 minutes or so I did house stuff. So that's orange. Now at this point, people start going to bed. Usually Mike's pretty tired by 10. If Liam is laid down, if everybody's kind of settled, I know there's a lot of ifs here. It really depends on the day, what this thing ends up looking like. So let's say everybody's out by that time and I have a chunk of time to work. Depending on what I'm doing is going to show, you know, what color I use. So let's say it's work for that Ignite Your Everyday Creativity class. Let's say I worked on that for an hour. So from 10 to 11. Now, yes, I know I said yellow is Clayton's color, but when I have the full 2 lines blacked out in yellow, I know that that's something of mine. I don't know why, but in my head, yellow is for that class. Like I said, nothing I'm doing here is anything I have to like keep a key for so I remember what is what, because this is just what makes sense in my head. It like a gut reaction, kind of. So that's why I mark it that way. And then let's say I make, one more trip to the laundry room, maybe fold towels and put them away real quick, maybe fold sheets for Mike and put them away real quick until 11:30. And then let's say that I decide I'm getting really tired and maybe I'm trying to work and nothing is making sense because I'm tired. So let's say from 11:30 until midnight I read. Now, here's where I'll always screw up. I'll keep going. So let's say I read from, let's say I went to bed and I read from 11:30 until 1. I'll mark it in here even though this was midnight of this day. Okay? So what generally will happen is if I stay up and read at night, I've probably done it several nights in a row. It's usually because I'm in the middle of reading something really good. So I would mark this till 1 o'clock, but it would have actually been from the night before. It would have been the first thing I filled in on here. I may have even filled it in the morning when I got up. Okay? If I stayed up Sunday night and into, 1 a.m. Monday morning reading, I wouldn't be able to mark that until Monday anyway. So I would mark it from midnight to 1 on here. Sometimes I forget to mark that stuff. It's not the end of the world. I do keep track on there. Like I had one night in here where the next day I filled it in. Let me see if I can find it. Oh no, it was this last week, wasn't it? Yeah, look, insomnia. So I marked it in with these kind of brown stripes because, I couldn't sleep, so I was watching Downton Abbey on demand because I could not fall asleep. I was up until 5 trying to doze off. I kept turning it off and laying there and laying there and laying there and caving in and turning it back on. So this night, this is the kind of stuff I'll mark in first thing in the morning so that I don't forget. So that if I need to start keeping track of stuff like that, like sleep issues, I have a record of it already. Same thing with keeping track of like when Liam takes a nap and whatnot. I'm not overly zealous about it. I'm not overly worried about it. But if, if it seems like he's having some weird sleep patterns, I kind of like to keep track of that. So that is it, you guys. I feel like walking through that I made no sense whatsoever. But that is it. And the trick with this is, to me at least, the reason I like to track my time is I like to see where all that time went because I do have a lot of these little slivers of time. For half an hour I read or whatever, for an hour and 15 minutes I worked on stuff for that class. This stuff tends to be the same. So when I have a day that is different in the boys' section or in Mike's section, it stands out to me right away. Oh, that day was different. If there's something I need to refer back to in here, that for my brain, okay, and consider whose brain we're talking about here, this may make sense to no one else, but for my brain, seeing a day like that that's different sticks out to me so much because I'm used to it looking a certain way Monday through Friday, every day Monday through Friday. So I can flip through the month really fast and see, oh, what day was that he started not feeling well? What day was that Mike had a last minute thing at the rink and had to change his schedule? Because inevitably he'll ask, hey, what day was that? And I won't remember because the days all run together. So that is how I use the LM-Hyperdex. Now, giveaway winners. I wanted to let you guys know, and I will be emailing the 3 of you to let you know, but the winner of the large LM-Hyperdex stamp, the one that comes out looking like this, is Tadanya Harris, and I will be emailing you, dear. The winner of the first small Hyperdex stamp, which is the same as, let's look at this one, it's a little easier. It's just 2 circles wide, or if you're looking at the tiny circles in the middle, it's 4 wide instead of 3 or 6 wide, depending on how you're looking at it, is Amanda. And I'll be emailing you. She didn't leave her last name, and I don't want to blast out her social media info. So Amanda, I'll be sending you an email or getting a hold of you on Twitter. And Britt is the 3rd winner of the small Hyperdex stamp. And again, I don't want to blast out your social media info either, but Britt, I will be getting in contact with you either by email or on Twitter as well. So congratulations to all 3 of you. Thank you all so much for entering. It was so fun to watch. That was really, really fun. And I think we might be doing another one pretty soon. That was a lot of fun. So you guys take it easy. Oops. Earthquake again. I will talk to you soon. If you have any questions about any of this, don't hesitate to ask me, okay? Like I said, longish video, I know. It does not take me that long when I'm sitting by myself to fill this in because, here I was kind of populating my evening with, okay, what would a normal, say, Thursday night look like? And I was trying to think back and explaining what everything is. when I sit down to do this by myself, I know what happened for the day. So I kind of go boom, 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 boom. If there's anything where I have a gap in time I'm not sure about, that probably means I was out running errands and I have my wallet size, or my field note size notebook with me. That has daily pages in it with this stamped onto it. And I have a video of that done that I'm going to be posting shortly. I'll show that to you the next day or two here. So if I have time in there that I happen to end up waiting and wasn't expecting it, didn't have this with me, but you know, I always have it in my field note size wallet setup, I would have had it marked in there to refer to. So this seriously doesn't take me more than 5 minutes to do in a day. So, but still, let me know if you guys have questions, okay? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, everybody, for all of your support and all of the new subscribers. Welcome. Let me know if you guys have any questions, okay? Thanks so much. Bye-bye.